Welcome back for a Wednesday evening. Hello, everyone. I hope you've had a great week and are in the middle of a great week. You are at the Concealer Chronicles, the weekly live stream show, also built off a Facebook group. And basically, we are circulating around stories about women in charge. Now, you might ask what that means. I'm talking about women who are in charge of anything. You've had to be the boss of anything, and I don't mean companies. I just mean that something that you have experience at or that you're well-versed in, or you could call yourself, yeah, I'm knowledgeable, I'm authoritative, I know what I'm talking about. And pretty much we're covering any topic that women in charge can speak to. And these are the good, the bad, and the very real stories of being a woman in charge. And I'm really excited about tonight's guest, which I'll introduce in a moment. What I want to encourage you guys to do as you join the Concealer Chronicles tonight is to share the show. Sharing is caring, and we want to care about our guests, and we want to make sure that their messages and their experiences get told and shared. So as you're joining the broadcast, if you don't mind just hitting the share button, share this out on your timeline, share it in a group. If you're in a women's group, oh my God, this is like perfect, okay? So share it to them. And also don't forget too, we also like to tag friends, tag your it, right? We like to make sure our friends know what's going on. I would really like to put this ploy out to you guys to please tag a friend who's been touched in any way, personally or with a relative experiencing it or friend, by breast cancer, because that's what we're really going to dive into tonight with a very real experience by my guest. And I'm very excited to have her on this evening. So I've known this a little over a year. It hasn't been terribly long, but she's a huge influencer here in Denver, Colorado. She knows Google and reviewing and brand reputation like nobody's business. But she really had to come into another experience too that was very real, dealing with breast cancer directly. And without further ado, I am glad to welcome Michelle Hoagland to this evening's show of the Concealer Chronicles. Hello, Michelle. Thanks for joining us.
Rachel, thank you so much for having me.
Of course. And you guys, too, if anyone's watching or listening, we have overcome some serious technical difficulties getting the show broadcasting tonight. So if you are hearing a slight echo, I deeply apologize. But that's really as good as it's going to get. And hopefully it'll mostly be Michelle talking and not me, which means less echoes for you. Michelle, if you could just give us a really brief intro of yourself and, and your life and who's in your family and stuff, which will really give us a great starting point for learning about your experience.
Great. Well, I'm 50. I turned 50 last December. It's kind of hard to imagine. I always pictured 50 being so old and decrepit, but I really don't feel that way. I am married and a business partner with my husband in our business, Top Hat Creative Marketing. I have a son who's a sophomore at the Colorado School of Mines and a daughter who's a senior in high school this year. And I am my family is everything to me. They are my three whys of why I do everything, why I run my business, why I, try to be as strong as I can possibly be and be a good role model. And also just a good person that volunteers her time and gives back to the community. That's always been hugely important to me.
Well, that's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. And that does give us a great insight into a little bit of what we're about to embark on here is the story that you have to share about breast cancer. And with us, I think we just hit the anniversary, which became a reality for you. Can you share that experience of learning that breast cancer had and that this was going to be a new thing to deal with?
Yes, it was. Well, first of all, I was getting regular mammograms once a year, and about a year and a half ago, I was in visiting my gynecologist, and she said, "When was the last time you had a mammogram?" I'm showing 2 years. And I said, we've been busy. We've been remodeling our house, this and that. Cancer doesn't run in my family. I'll get to it. And she's like, well, I really want you to go. I want you to make an appointment or I'm going to drive you, basically, is what she said. So I made the appointment and I got the call back that they wanted me to come in and do a second mammogram. Now, for a lot of women, this is normal. I had very dense breast tissue. So a lot of times this wouldn't give an accurate reading. So getting that second call was never a big deal. Then I got the third call that they didn't like what they saw. So they wanted me to come in for an advanced mammogram. I did that. They didn't like the way that looked. So I ended up having to go in for a sonogram and another mammogram. And the radiologist actually had me wait while he read the images and then came in and said, okay, here's the thing. It's probably nothing. But since we didn't notice this on your mammograms 2 years ago, we would really like to do a biopsy. And there were two areas that they were a little concerned about. So they said, you know, we'd probably have to do a double biopsy. So in two different areas of the left breast. And he goes, again, it's probably nothing. I just want to err on the side of caution. So, you know, let's go ahead and get this done. So I got it done on Friday, September 9th last year, and waited through the weekend. Again, not a big deal. I wasn't really stressed out about it because there's no history in my family whatsoever of any kind of cancer. And so when I got that call at, I remember the exact time, 4:05 p.m. on Monday, September 12th, and they told me that I had invasive lobular carcinoma. So basically stage 2 breast cancer. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, and Mia's commenting. Yeah, she remembers that phone call.
In it, like, I mean, did they say it off like all those big words, which is like, or did they tell you it's stage 2?
Well, they said they called and they asked how I was doing and, you know, how I was feeling after the biopsy, because the biopsy, I got to tell you, I looked like I'd been mugged, you know, it was bruised and all this and that. But, they said, you know, how are you doing and everything? And I said, I'm doing good. And they go, well, we've got some bad news. We got your results back. And they immediately told me what it was. They didn't say stage 2 right off the bat. They said, you know, in our projections, it's stage 2, but we really need to get you in to see a surgeon and get an MRI and all of that. So it was pretty amazing because I went through Sally Job, and I have to give them very high kudos for how they handled everything, because I immediately got a team. I had a patient navigator. I had all kinds of things. It was pretty amazing the way they took care of me right off the bat. So after that was a series of doctor's appointments, MRIs, blood work. I did get, it was funny because when I had the MRI, and I wanted to bring this up, and I mentioned that to you before we went live. You know, women are like, well, I don't need a mammogram because there's no history of cancer in my family, and I don't feel any lumps. Well, that's all well and good, but I didn't feel any lumps either. And when I went and had the MRI, the MRI picked up 4 tumors in my left breast.
Wow.
And trust me, the surgeon manhandled me. The plastic surgeon manhandled me. They didn't feel them. And the type of cancer I had, the tumors are very fluid, and they start at the milk duct and they work their way out from there back inside. So it's almost like a starburst the way it does. And so yeah, that was pretty amazing. And they also told me that it was highly likely that I had had this cancer anywhere from 5 to 10 years. So,
whoa.
Yes. That was an eye-opener.
And that's right. And I so appreciate your sharing this, because I put this Facebook group just yesterday in a Facebook group, and haven't yet. Just type group in the comments, group, the word group, and you'll get an invitation. But I asked that yesterday because it made me think of that. I'm like, well, when's the last time anyone here had a mammogram? And fortunately, most of the answers were to the effect, you know, like, oh, I've had it 2 months ago. I'm going to call right now, you know, and you reminded me I need to, which is so great. But did see a couple who said, oh, well, I know my girls, you know, and I know. And I think the fact that you know your girls, you know, and I so appreciate you brought up that you got, I mean, literally all the experts who could not detect these tumors, but you had 4 of them. Yeah.
Well, you know, and it turns out, oddly enough, when they got me on the table, I elected to go ahead and do a bilateral mastectomy. So I only had tumors in the left breast, but I decided that I did not want to live my life, the rest of my life, going and having MRIs every 6 months with the possibility of developing it in my right breast. So I thought, you know what, that's it. I'm just going to do it. I did do the genetic testing. And again, no, I didn't have any of the markers for cancer. There's no history in my family. But here's a very interesting statistic, and it's a little depressing. 1 in 8 women will be diagnosed with breast cancer. 1 in 8 in the United States. Yes. Well, it gets even worse. It's 1 in 7 in the state of Colorado. Whoa. And they have no idea why. No research. No explanation, but that is statistically what happens 1 in 7 in the state of Colorado. I've learned a lot.
Which, right, exactly. I'm sure you were like, well, tell me all the facts and I'm going to walk away with all these. Well, and it's, it's what's tragic about this too. I mean, I love that you're here to talk with us about this for one thing, but you talk about 1 in 8 women. I tell my children all the time, and you just don't run into anyone anymore who has not in some way been touched by cancer at all, breast cancer being one of them. But I mean, this came as a total shock to you. Would you mind sharing with us how did you emotionally react, and then I love the story of what happened after that and how you basically brought a tribe together for this.
Well, I'm one of those people that just dives in and takes control of a situation if there's an emergency. Unfortunately, at the time, the phone that I had, I could only converse through speaker. So my husband and my daughter heard the nurse telling me, that I had cancer, and they both broke down. And I went into, okay, where's my calendar? Let me get into a surgeon. What do we need to do? Just plan, do it. There were no tears. There was nothing. And so for a couple of days, it was just really odd around the house. My husband and daughter were walking on pins and needles. My son, fortunately, was off at college, so he didn't find out right away. But I actually dropped my phone in the toilet 2 days after I got the message. And I had a complete and total meltdown, screaming and crying and cussing like a sailor and losing my mind. And my husband is standing there looking at me going, okay, so you get the cancer diagnosis and nothing, and you drop your phone in the toilet and you just jump on the crazy train. So it was pretty interesting. But I decided that I have so many amazing people in my life, women through work, women who are my friends, my family, things like that. And I wanted to keep everybody updated, but it's exhausting, calling people and having to tell the same story over and over again. So I created a private Facebook page, and I called it the Boob Report. And I love when I invited people to do it, because you were one of the first people I invited, and your comment was, "I love you." It just came to me. You did
something, yeah, and I love that, because you could immediately, just in that title, your approach was going to be that you were like, "Well, we are going to take care of this. We are going to tackle it. We're going to talk about it, and I'm going to." We're talking about boobs, and I just love that you were. What else am I supposed to say? This is it. So it was so you, Michelle, and I just love that you tackled it. Let's get real, cry about. We're gonna be here and talk about this. So it was amazing.
Yeah, I think it was very good for me as well, because I could reach out to people and let them know what was going on. And I did go through a little bit of survivor's guilt, because I was very lucky in the fact that I have not had to have chemo or radiation. I am under an oncologist care for the next 5 years. I do have to go every 6 months, but my prognosis and outlook is very good. So I'm very thankful for that. But it originally started out as more of a communication board for me to keep friends and family updated. And then the more I started doing it, I really wanted it to be a resource. So I turned it into a community page, and I actually purchased the domain name, the Boob Report. And
I'm surprised it was available.
I know, right? I was very excited. So over the next year or so, I'm really going to be building resources and building a website and just really getting some information out there. There are so many women who have gone through what I've gone through. And I think that, there needs to be a little bit of humor, blunt, honesty, brutal honesty about certain things. I will freely admit that my left boob was my favorite, so I was very depressed that was the one that had cancer in it.
Oh no!
I know it was terrible, but yeah, I mean, it was one of those things where, yeah, I could, curl up in a ball and cry and oh, woe is me, but it wasn't going to change the fact that I had cancer. So why waste that time and energy on it? So
yeah,
so I just tried to turn it into something positive.
Yeah, which it is. It's hard to think of, and what to do unless we can all speculate all we want.
Yeah.
What would happen if we got that diagnosis or got that bad news, or that we're in that conjecture about what. And I do. I mean, it's. I think that where you're coming from too is that it's okay if not everybody responds the way you did, and because everybody's going to have their own journey with this. But you came at it the way you wanted to. You owned it, which I really loved about that too. You're just like, well, this is how I'm going to deal with it, and you really have to do that, I think. And you were empowered to do that in spite of being given probably one of the worst pieces to forget. So, it was amazing. And I know you had the opportunity. I think you were able to share your story abroad. I mean, or like wider than just your group. You have an experience with Swedish Medical Center that you got to share this?
Yes, I actually filmed a video with them that will be on their Facebook page in October. I can't say enough good things about Swedish Medical Center, the hospital. They were so amazing to me. My plastic surgeon is just, and my oncology surgeon, they were all so good to me. The nursing staff, the way they took care of my family and everyone, that was there the day of my surgery. I was more than happy to do that for them. But it was nice to tell my story. The thing for me is, and, I'm just going to get brutally honest here. I did grab the bull by the horns. That's who I am. But I did lose it. And I did end up starting therapy. Because I was so strong and so adamant that I was going to get through this, that I never really sat back and took that diagnosis and accepted it for what it was. It was hard. I mean, when they got me on the table and opened me up, I ended up having 6 tumors, not 4 tumors. So there were so many things that could have gone wrong. And luckily they didn't. But then I started having survivor's guilt. Then I started having, I let my family down. I let my friends down because I got cancer, which is, if you think about it, it's kind of silly, but it is a normal reaction. Yeah. So I am in therapy. I'm seeing a wonderful therapist who is helping me through things, and I highly recommend it. No one should ever have to go through this alone, ever. So, I just, you need to have someone in your corner. I was very lucky with my husband and my kids and my tribe, but reaching out to somebody else that maybe's been through this, that's why I wanted the Boob Report. And that's why I want the domain, and I want to be as involved as I can, because no one should go through this alone. It is a very tough.
Well, and you might think, even coming at it, realizing breast cancer is so prevalent, 1 in 8 women are going to be diagnosed, and you might think, well, myriad of other resources out there. So but no one is going. And this goes back to a saying that one of my favorite people in social media, Joe Wilson, always says: "We're all famous to a few people." You're going to reach people. You're going to reach women in particular, or families. Families of survivors of breast cancer, or people who are getting their own diagnosis. You're going to reach them in a way possibly that nothing else could. And so it really is important to provide resources to say, well, in case you use other things, I'm here, and the report is here, and this is a place where you can be, because not everybody's going to tackle the same or tackle, they're going to be at different stages. Your resource be right what they need right when they need it, and that's what's so crucial.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what I wanted to be able to provide, is that resource and have that available for women, and honestly, for men, for partners, family members, best friends, things like that, because it was hard for my husband to go through that. I came home from surgery with 4 drains in, and he's stripping the drains and keeping track. I still have the notepad of how he kept track of my pain medication. And,
Oh, wow.
yeah, again, I was very, very blessed. There are women out there and men who don't have that support. And so I want to be able to be a resource to them, or maybe, partner them with someone within the group, something like that, because it is just, it's just something you never, ever want to hear, and you never think you're going to have to deal with. So.
Yeah. Well, can you do us a favor? Tell us where you said you got the domain for the Boob Report. Was it theboobreport.com?
It will be theboobreport.com. There is not a site up yet. I've had a couple of companies offer to help me out and sponsor the website. But what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to do the skeleton, kind of build the back of it. I've got some people that I'm hoping to partner with. And just right now, the Boob Report on Facebook, it is a community page, but I do have people sort of send me a request to join, because I want to make sure that it's people that are going to be supportive, and are going to get something out of it. So I don't want it to be salesy. It's all informational based. It's supportive. It is open to men and women. And then I'm going to build off of that for the website. And then eventually there will be a book. My husband and I have talked about writing a book. So yeah.
Well, that's all. And my husband just came up too. So I was like eyeballing him at the door. Like, we're talking about boobs, but not in the way that you would hope.
Yes.
Michelle, I know you'd mentioned already, because we talked about a little offline, just about what's the one call to action if you could leave anyone with something for the show. What would you like them to know? And now's the time to let us know what you would like us to do, knowing your story now.
Well, I want women to be proactive with their bodies. I want, like you were saying in the comment section earlier, somebody said, well, I know my girls. I know what's going on with my body. I did too. I felt very comfortable, and, just getting down with it. My husband loved my breasts too. And he touched them as much as I did, and he never felt anything either. So it's, you have to take control of your health. You have to be proactive and, do those self-breast examinations, get those mammograms, and just talk to people. There are certain things health-wise that can be an indicator that you do have cancer. I will throw this out there too with the statistic. Only 20% of cancer diagnosis is genetic. Only 20%. So 80% is a very big number, a very big statistic to play with. So lifestyle, diet, stress, all of those play into whether or not, you could possibly get a cancer diagnosis. And it's not always breast cancer. It can be thyroid, it can be, bone, blood. It doesn't matter. You really need to take charge and pay attention to what your body's telling you.
Yeah. Well, and even then, do what is recommended. I will also endorse Sally Jobe. I remember I went there. I turned 40 almost 3 years ago. I'm almost there. And started going to get my yearly mammogram. And you feel kind of like, am I at a spa? This is amazing. They get the little robes with the little lockers, and you just feel they know their business. They know why you're there. And they know how to handle. I also will speak highly of them and say, whether it's Sally that you're getting this done, you need to get it done, and just take care of yourself. All of us would like to go along skipping tra-la-la and that we're all fully healthy, but better to know early that early diagnosis can mean the difference. Here on this video with us and you not.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely. I mean, I could have just blown it off and been like, you know what? He doesn't think it's anything, but my husband and I talked about it, and we're like, let's just get it done. That way we've got peace of mind. We know it's nothing. Turns out it wasn't nothing, but, at least I know. At least I knew, and I was able to take care of it.
Well, Michelle, thank you Boob Report, being on the Boob Report, being on the Concealer Chronicles episode of the Boob Report. And it's a pleasure to know you. It's obviously been a pleasure to, and just great to watch you through your journey. None of us know how things are going to turn out or happen, but, fortunately you've got a happy ending. But again, thanks to many factors, and, you could be the difference. Your group could be the difference for somebody also to make a decision early on that could save their life. So thank you for the effort, and Concealer Chronicles tonight.
Oh, thank you so much, Rachel. I so appreciate it.
Of course, I'm going to pop you. Just stick around with you in a moment as I close out the show.
Sounds good.
All right. And watching this evening, again, we had some technical issues that happened, but hopefully we were able to come across. The first thing I'm going to do is go check, make sure that all the video and audio. Michelle has such a great story. And it's great in the fact that it's lasting. It's something meant for your good. She's putting her story out there on the line with the hopes that it's going to help somebody else. So seriously, go check out the Boob Report. Find her Facebook group. Again, it's by invitation only, or she'll have to approve you. But take part in that community, but for your body, and do what you need to do. We'll be back next Wednesday for the last Wednesday of each month. Is something I know every time I mention this to other people, they're like, what? We're going to do the no makeup meetup. So next week, I believe my good friend Ann Wynn from Houston is going to be on with me. And she and I are going to take off all the makeup. I know. It's going to be fine. Take it all off. Just neck up. And just talk real about being a woman. We could talk about getting soap in our eye. We could talk about all kinds. I hope you join us next week. Remember, we're here every Wednesday night, 8 p.m. It's a little late for some people, but we're trying to catch you women. And you're right at the crucial hours of like, okay, I'm home from work. I think I can do this. And even if you're catching this on replay, these messages and these stories can still matter a ton to you. So thank you for watching. Tune in next week. Again, 9 p.m. Eastern, right here on my Facebook page, Rachel Moore, the live stream host and speaker. Yeah, the Concealer Chronicles is here. Once again, type group in your comments and you'll get an invitation to the Facebook group. It is for women or those who identify as women. That's who it's for. So there, thank you guys. And don't forget to share the somebody who needs to get that. Thank you guys. Have a great night. Talk to you next week.